birthplace of beauty, history, and corruption. Today we're taking a deeper look into Ugandan presidential hopeful Bobi Wine.
Welcome to the first episode of our show, Leave Africa Alone. My name is Joe.
And my name is Billy.
We need Africa to become a stable, viable place because it's just simply better for the world. Most of us complain about immigration of Africans to Western countries, yet corporate interests drive the continent into constant instability. The resources of Africans have been looted for centuries by greed without any single concern for the people. We cannot be saying Black Lives Matter and show no concern for Africa, which is at the center of Black lives.
Today on our new show series, Leave Africa Alone, we will be exposing to the world a new attempt to destabilize one of the most stable countries not only in Africa but the world. Corporate interests pretending to be concerned about democracy and human rights are practically imposing an imposter on the people of Uganda. Not only are they imposing and propping up a complete novice, but they are also threatening a peaceful country with violence if they don't go along with their plans.
Today we want to have a look at Uganda's Bobi Wine, a complete European corporate interest toy boy who has never managed the affairs of a small province, but public relations companies working for these interests have turned him into a political star using Western media and social media. Objectively, we would want to showcase today, in the words of the same man, Bobi Wine, on why he is totally unfit to become president of the most important nation in Africa, for the peace and security of the African people. We will be looking in his own words expressing his understanding of basic national issues such as security, job creation, economic development, foreign relations, patriotism to Uganda, strength of vision, and history of public service.
It is one thing to want to impose a new leader for a country and cause regime change, but it is another thing when the person you are bringing was not vetted in the very least concerning any ability to run the affairs of a country. So we look at 7 reasons why Bobi Wine, in his own words, tells you why he is completely unqualified to be president of any African nation, let alone the most important one. The most important job of any government is security of lives and property. So let us hear from him on this issue, Joe.
Let's take a look at that video.
But our promise is to pay at least a minimum of 1 million shillings to the soldiers, the police officers, and this will take immediate effect.
Kandi ekitukuragana tuzakushashura abasirikare omumahe omupolisi omubihome at least sente zitaransi y'akakikuru kamwe kandi ekyo nkiza kubaho immediately aho nawe tuweza kutaho mu ofisi.
This is because the money is there and we know it.
Nakujangwe sente ziruho kandi ntumangwe sente ziruho.
I said that money is there and we know it.
Kandi sente.
How can anyone be president of a country and know absolutely nothing about security of lives and property? He's also constantly avoiding the topic. He will never offer any ideas of his plan to keep the nation in peace and security.
Yes, simply because he was sent by corporate interests to bring chaos, not security. A nation that has had over 70 years of constant wars before the peace they have had in 34 years now, they want to use a clueless person to revert them back to wars?
You know, they have just discovered oil in large commercial quantities in Uganda for the first time ever. No wonder they want to destabilize it, so they loot the oil as they have done in countless African countries before. The second area is the area of job creation, a huge problem that exists all over Africa. He talks so much about fighting for jobless youth, so let us hear his plan to create jobs for these youths from the man himself.
Our promise to the young people of Uganda,
Ekiraganiso kitu aha minyeto na nabato omu Uganda.
to the youth of Uganda,
Eminyeto abanya-Uganda.
our promise is that we shall ensure that we find meaningful employment opportunities for you.
Ntubaraganisa ntuza kubatungira emirimo erimu omugazu erimu ekishaju.
In our term of office,
Omu ofisi yitu
before it expires,
etakahwireho
we undertake to create at least 5 million jobs.
ntuza kurebeka ngu tuwahangaho emirimo etaransi y'obukikuru butano.
We shall do this by focusing our priorities and investing in technology and embarking on massive scales of industrialization.
Ekintu za kukikora tukuteekesira aha kuimprovinga ebya teknologia nange bya karimagezi na no kuongera amaani omu kutendekwa abantu bakatunga obuku.
Wow, this is unbelievable. This guy does not understand that government is not responsible for job creation. Government is to create the environment through things like security for private sector to create the jobs. This is how all developed countries function.
Government cannot create enough jobs for the people. What a dummy. Wait, let's take a look at the third area and the most important thing from anyone seeking leadership position in any nation. Your vision for the people. Let's hear from the same Bobi Wine explain his vision for the country he wants to rule.
Here we go.
So what specifically do you want to change in Uganda? What are some of the policies that you would like to implement if you did get into a position to do so?
Well, it should be known that Uganda is not short of amazing policies. We have had very many propositions that have been well researched, intelligently thought through, and indeed presented. However, because of the rampant corruption and the lack of rule of law, none of them has not been implemented. So our policy is going to be mainly implementation. Even if we just implemented the 10-point program that Museveni was singing 33 years.
He wants to be president and doesn't even have a vision for the nation he wants to lead. He couldn't even pretend to have a vision for them. He's telling you he is coming to enforce existing policies so what exactly will he do differently to enforce? No answer.
This is just arrogance. He has been told by foreign interests that they have him covered. So he arrogantly just expects to win because his sponsors are from Europe. Again, let us hear from the man public relations firms sponsored by corporate interests have been promoting all over Western media. Let him talk to us on the fourth reason why he is nothing but an imposter, Joe. Here is Bobi Wine on economic development.
Currently, and have you been able to track what has happened over the years? Because when Museveni came in, it was said that there was 0% foreign direct investment, and then at some point it came to $1.2 billion in foreign direct investment. Then what happened?
Well, in Uganda, development and our economy has just been to the masses, just statistics, but realistically it does not reflect with the people.
This guy is just plain clueless. The present government has verifiably increased foreign direct investments into the country by over $1 billion. And he doesn't even understand what that means to economic development. A nation that is coming from a very primitive lifestyle and going into modernity can definitely not be allowed to be set back by this man and his corporate sponsors.
It is obvious, Joe, that the newly discovered oil is all they are interested in. They need to turn Uganda to war-torn Congo or South Sudan so they can freely milk their oil, and Bobi Wine is the gent to accomplish this goal. Let us hear from him on another important aspect of running a country, foreign relations. This is our fifth point, and what does he say on foreign policy plans, Joe? Let's watch the video.
Let's have a look.
Let's talk about the foreign policy, because then you talked about the Uganda-Rwanda issues. So in terms of foreign policy, what does your manifesto anchor on? What is your foreign policy?
Well, we intend to have harmonized relationships, good relationships, talk about the communities that we are engaged in, the East African community and other communities. We don't want these to be presidents' clubs. We want these to be fraternities of countries, nations working together, relating from sports to culture to politics to business, and we intend to respect that.
He will make foreign relations a fraternity, not a president's club. My goodness. Why did these corporate interests choose this dummy? Oh, it's because he's a musician, it's the age of reality, shares, likes on social media, and comments, so They chose a musician so that he can bring attention and create chaos. Very clever. This is how they intend to bring instability to Africa.
Well, too bad it ends today with this powerful expose. Foreigners must leave Africa alone. As a person running to be president, how patriotic are you to Uganda and the cause of Uganda? You will be most shocked when you evaluate this imposter called Bobi Wine on the most basic aspect of anything required to govern a country. Basic patriotism to the country. Our sixth area is patriotism to Uganda.
He has made more negative comments about Uganda than any publication has ever made on Uganda. Something to think about.
Ultimately, if President Museveni tries to rig the election that he has been like he has been doing, then the people of Uganda will rise up and they will stop it.
Well, let me ask you about what you mean by that, because if you are blocked at the ballot box, what other ways will you seek to remove Museveni? And it's worth noting to our viewers that since independence in the 1960s, there has never been a peaceful transfer of power in Uganda.
The law as it is today permits me to vie for presidency, and if President Museveni tries to stop me from vying for the presidency, that would be another bridge that we shall cross when we get there.
But what you said a moment ago, that the people could rise up. Are you saying there could be an armed revolution against Museveni if your efforts at the ballot box are blocked?
I did not say people could rise up. I said people will rise up, because that is evident everywhere. They are tired of this oppression and they will not take it any longer.
He doesn't just make negative comments on his opponent, but on Uganda. So he's willing to destroy the country so he can shine. Look at a real incident a few weeks ago. Some Nigerian artists came to perform despite COVID restrictions and were arrested. Because Nigerians are very active on social media, for the mere sake of further popularity with Nigeria, he threw Uganda under the bus. He defended Nigerians who violated the law and writes in Nigerian media that Uganda is a lawless and worthless country. He didn't just say it in Ugandan media, but he sent it Nigerian media as well to buy their favor at the detriment of Uganda, the country he wants to govern.
That is so desperate, Joe. He is willing to destroy his nation to others just to get sympathy. So he sings songs praising Uganda, but when it benefits him, he throws Uganda under the bus. It took a Nigerian who lives in Uganda to tell him not to do it again, and Uganda is a safer and better run country than Nigeria.
Now we get to the seventh and final reason why the imposter is telling you not to have anything to do with him in the leadership of Uganda. We have to evaluate every job applicant on job record. In this case, we have to look at record of community service, since he is offering himself for national service. He brags himself a ghetto leader from Kamwakya, a ghetto in Kampala. So let's look at his current street credibility. He unfortunately grew up there, but when he made money from music and politics, he immediately left the ghetto.
He lives in a mansion in a beautiful area, not that ghetto he uses to promote the connection to the common man. The con man has no commercial investment in that ghetto that brings any prosperity to the community or creates any jobs, despite the millions of dollars the European corporate interests are giving him. All he put there is political office, which attracts ghetto youth taking hard drugs and attracting police, with constant unrest in the area, destroying business activities and causing youth to die needlessly in the hands of law enforcement, quelling uproars. Then he uses the pictures of the dead to gain more sympathy, tells them it's part of the struggle, which truly only benefits him and absolutely no one else.
There's a further story on this ghetto community. Development Channel, sister company to the Black Wall Street, opened a 5,000 job call center in that same ghetto. At this point, Bobi Wine is a member of parliament. The organization that created 5,000 jobs in his community began having issues with corrupt government officials who are colleagues to the same Bobi Wine from that same community. He brags about every day as his ghetto roots. He kept quiet. He never bothered to defend the jobs in his community. All he did was take pictures with the youth that worked there. He said absolutely nothing to confront the corrupt officials, and the entire 5,000 jobs were lost, and the call center was closed until today.
Africa, you must understand that nations don't go from zero to rotational leadership overnight. Stability is very important to formalize systems. We didn't truly start practicing democracy until our systems were well established. The same you see from China. They are also not constantly changing their leadership until they fully establish their systems. Rotational leadership is luxury and can only become the concerns of established nations like ours. Before we go, let us have a simple glance at the African leader they want to replace and destroy.
That Africa is interested not in nuclear weapons, but in nuclear energy. The reason we're interested in nuclear energy is that if you take all the rivers in Africa, the total capacity of the hydropower there is about 300,000 megawatts. We are going to be 1.3 billion Africans by 2020. Now, if you take the United States, who are only 300 million people, they are now using 1 million megawatts. But all the rivers in Africa have got a potential of only 300,000 megawatts. Even if all the sites on the African rivers were developed, we would not have enough electricity to support the Africans. Unless, of course, you say that it has been scientifically proved that Africans don't need electricity. But if you do not take that absurd conclusion, then it is clear that Africa will have to use all sources of energy, including nuclear energy. Some people are talking of solar energy, but a kilowatt hour of solar energy is now at about 40 American cents. Yet a kilowatt hour of nuclear or hydro is about 5, 4, 6 cents. So therefore, nuclear energy is of great interest to Africa. I thank you very much.
We've gone through 7 key issues on any nation's development and sustainability, and from the words of the man, he is clearly telling you not to vote for him, not to consider him as a viable option because he is incompetent, empty, devoid of vision, and is only seeking fame, power, glamour, and the good things in life. The people of Uganda must reject every attempt by European corporate interests to destabilize their nation because of their resources. It has been a pleasure doing this expose with you. Next episode, we will be looking at the mining of resources by foreign corporations in Congo.
What is your message to Western human rights groups, to President Obama, to lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people?
Respect African societies and their values. If you don't agree, you just keep quiet. Let's manage our society the way we see. If we are wrong, we shall find out by ourselves. Just the way we don't interfere with yours.